So what we're going to be working on today as our objective is simplifying multi-step equations then solving them. Okay. Simplify, or let me say simplifying. Multi-step equations, then solving them. We're going to also review a key property, the distributive property. All right, so what I want to do is actually talk about the distributive property first to make sure that we all remember what to do. So I'm going to give you an example of what it looks like, and then you tell me what I'm supposed to do. So this is what we have. 2 times the quantity x plus 4. What does the distributive property allow me to do with this expression? Now, this is an expression, right? Because it doesn't have an equals and it doesn't tell us to solve this. It's just this expression. Jonah? No. It's not going to be a replacement. It's actually one problem. Sophia?
You're going to distribute the 2 to the x and the 4?
Okay, and when you distribute, what math are you doing?
Multiplication.
You're going to be doing multiplication. So what this becomes is we're going to multiply the 2 times the x, and then we're going to look at whatever the operation is and write that next. And then we're going to distribute the 2 to the 4, and that means we're going to multiply 2 times 4. So this is what your brain's doing. And we end up with 2x plus 8. So the importance about distributive property is we have an order of operations, and what it says is take care of anything in a grouping symbol. Unfortunately, what's in the grouping symbol is a variable, x plus a 4. And I don't know what x equals, so I can't add x and 4, so I'm kind of stuck. And the parentheses, kind of like Superman's force field, nothing can get through. So I'm kind of don't know what to do. Well, what the distributive property says is, hey, if you have something in front of that parentheses, you can multiply, and what that does is it breaks down that shield of the parentheses, and now I have some numbers and I can do something. You can sit right here. Come up closer. Yeah, perfect. Okay, so that's what we're going to be doing with the distributive property. Now, where it gets tricky, signs. So here's another example of a distributive property problem where you got to be really cautious. So this one says -3 times the quantity y minus 3. So again, mathematically, I can't do anything with y minus 3. So the distributive property allows me, through multiplication, to get rid of the parentheses. So here's where you have to watch out. This says take -3 and multiply it by y. Okay? And then we can take the sign that's here, which is a minus, and we can put it in. And then it says multiply -3 times 3. The thing I have to watch out for is I cannot use this sign here, the subtraction sign between them, more than one time. So I've already taken care of it, putting it here. So then I look and I do my math and see what I come up with. -3 times y is -3y. I have a negative times a positive. What sign am I going to get when I have 2 negatives and 1 positive?
Positive.
I'm going to get a positive. And then 3 times 3 is 9. Okay? So the key thing we have to watch out for are signs. All right? So that's the distributive property. Any questions on that? You guys need to see another example? Isabel?
So when a variable can't like minus or add to one of the numbers, numbers, you have to distribute the outer.
Yeah, since we don't know what x is or y, I can't do math to it, taking away something from it or adding something to it. But I do have the ability to multiply a number times a variable, and it stays as a little product with a number times a variable. Okay, let's see. You can come to this table over here. Oh, you got a delivery for me. Sorry. I'm so used to people coming in taking a test. Thank you. That's you, Sophia. So notes will be up on School Loop.
Are you gonna have homework?
Not today. Okay. Joey.
So isn't it negative, so how it's -3
Mhm.
times y, so
Mhm.
you don't do anything there?
I cannot, since I don't know what the y is, but we can show it being put together, and -3y is the product of -3 times y. That's the best I can do on that one. Okay? All right, Kyler.
Where'd you get the second -3?
I can't, from here. I'm distributing a -3.
Oh.
That's why you saw -3 in the front of each of my numbers. And I just used parentheses the second time to separate him from the subtraction sign that was inside the grouping symbol.
Yeah, so you
Okay.
keep that 3 and
Yeah.
then plus those other 2.
Yeah, so if you notice, let's talk about this guy here. Y minus 3 has a y minus a positive 3. That's one way to look at it. You could also rewrite this as y plus -3 if you wanted to, and then you could change that sign. Instead of being a subtraction between the two quantities, you can make it a plus, and then it would be -3 times -3. You'd still get the same answer, positive 9. Okay? All right. Now that we've done a little review on that, let's go back and say, how does that help us when we're solving these multi-step equations? So number one in solving multi-step equations is you're going to simplify each side of the equation first. Okay? And you should get it down until there should be no more than two terms per side. That's what simplifying is going to do. Okay, so simplify each side of the equation first. There should be no more than 2 terms per side. All right, so what are the things that are determined to be simplifying? Number one, you distribute to remove parentheses. Because if you have parentheses, there's nothing you can do. So we want to get rid of them, and the distributive property allows us to get rid of them. Kyler, Kia. Kia, you're supposed to be taking notes. Put everything flat on the desk. Next, you're going to combine like terms. Okay. And like terms are going to be two numbers that are called constants. They have no variables attached. Or they could be two values that have the same variable, and you can combine them together. And you're going to, whatever's on the same side, you're going to do same math. So I'm going to just add that little bit. Same side, same math. So if the numbers are the same, you're going to add. If the signs are different, you're going to subtract. Okay, so that's what simplifying is. So you're kind of prepping. It's like if you're a cook, you don't just start cooking. You actually have to do some prep. You have to chop up some vegetables, onions, whatever, to get ready to put into your recipe. You can't just all of a sudden, bam, do everything. Now the next piece is you're going to add or subtract depending on what math you're being told to do based on the signs of your numbers, so that variables end up on the left and constants on the right. Okay, that's kind of crazy out there. So again, we're going to add or subtract so that the variables end up on the left and constants on the right. Again, this is opposite to what we would do if it was an expression and we were doing order of operations. Now, what may happen is your variable may end up with a coefficient. Okay? If so, we're going to multiply or divide. To get rid of a coefficient in front of the variable. Now, all the problems are different. Sometimes you already have all the variables on one side. It's just the constants you need to do opposite operations to get them together. Sometimes you have the constants already on the right side, but it's the variables that are on both sides and you need to get them to the left. Sometimes you have to do all of it. Okay? Some problems are simpler than others. Some of them have more things to watch out for. The answer is exactly the same as it was with one step. Variable equals answer, which is a number. So that's how all your answers are going to look like. The only thing that you guys need to really pay attention to are your signs. A lot of sign issues here. So some people like to use a highlighter or colored pencil to kind of indicate, oh, watch out for this sign. So whatever you need to do, you do. All right, so here we go. The directions are going to say solve and check. The check is just going to take a little bit more because there's a little bit more math to look at. So 9x plus 6 equals 51. Blissfully, I have no parentheses, so I don't have to distribute. I also don't have more than 2 terms on either side, and I don't have any like terms on a side. So I don't have to worry about the simplifying part. It's already ready to go. Now what I'm going to do is start getting variables on the left. Oh, look at that. They're already there. But now I have to get the constants on the right. So that means I need to get rid of the plus 6. Opposite to adding 6 would be subtracting 6. So I'm going to show subtracting 6 from both sides. Notice that I'm going to do all my work vertically. I'm left with 9x is equal to, and then I rename as I need to, 45. And then I've got 9 times x is equal to 45, so the opposite or inverse of that would be dividing both sides by 9. And that gives me x equals 5. So to do the check, I'm going to see if 9 times 5 plus 6 would actually give me 51. So I get 45 plus 6 is 51, and 51 equals 51. So that verifies, yep, your answer is going to be x equals 5. Okay? Taylor.
So this one we leave it with the variable?
Say again?
This one we leave it with the variable?
Yes, and here's the reason why. They gave it to you. Okay? So anytime you're given something with a variable there, you're going to be given it back. It's only in word problems that you don't give me a variable. Joy.
You add or subtract the number in the middle always?
Nope. It's just whatever that I need to get to the opposite side is what I'm going to do math with. Okay? So this one, the only thing I needed to do was get the constants to the right. So the opposite of the adding 6 would have been the subtracting 6. Okay? All right. What about number 2? What do you notice we need to do in number 2? Parentheses? Do you have any like terms? Ooh, I do. Both of these are like terms because they have the same variable with the same exponent. Guys, we're doing this. So 4c plus 3c, I do exactly the math it tells me. It gives me a total of 7c equals 21. And if you notice at this point, I'm down to a one step. Okay, what math am I going to do to get the C alone? Whoa, I heard addition. I don't think so. Division. Okay. What am I going to divide both sides by? 7. Because I need to get the C by itself. And I get C equals 3. So then I can check it. And I'm going to have 4 times 3. I always go back to the original problem in case I made a careless mistake. I won't catch it in a subsequent step. I always go back to the beginning. So I want to know if 4 times 3 plus 3 times 3 equals 21. So I get 12 plus 9. And that does equal 21. So since that matches, that means, yep, C has to equal 3. Sounds like torture out there or something. All right, let's try another one. 2 times the quantity, 2y plus 3 equals 14. Okay. So, do I need to distribute on this one?
Yes.
Oh, yeah. So, the only way I can solve this problem is if I distribute. So, I get 2 times 2y, which gives me 4y. So, again, I'll write up here what I did, 2 times 2y. And then it says plus, and then I'm going to multiply 2 times 3, which gives me 6. And now this problem looks like the first problem did. So I've got my variables on the left. I need my constants on the right. To do that, the opposite of adding 6 would be subtracting 6. So that gives me 4y equals 8. And the opposite of multiplying by 4 is dividing by 4. And we get y equals 2. And then we could check. And always go back to the beginning. Is 2 times the quantity, 2 times 2 plus 3, actually equal to 14? So we follow order of operations, which says take care of what's in the grouping symbol. 2 times 2 is 4. Still in the grouping symbol, 4 plus 3 is 7. 2 times 7 is 14, and sure enough, 14 equals 14. So that verifies that y equals 2 is the correct answer. Oop, it's the smallest number 4 ever. All right, so now I'm going to give you a complicated one. 24 minus 2 times the quantity, 2m plus 1, equals negative 6. So what do you notice we have to deal with on this one? Parentheses. Now, 24 doesn't have anything in front of it, so he can stay. He's good. And what we're going to do over here is we're going to multiply, negative 2 times 2m. What would that give us? Negative 4m. And then we're going to multiply negative 2 times 1. And what's that going to give us? Negative 2. And all of that equals the negative 6. Now notice that I have 3 terms on the left, which means there's 2 that have to pair up. Jacob, we're taking notes. I know you don't feel well, but try your best. Okay, so what are my like terms on the left?
24,
Yeah, 24 and negative 2, they're constants. So I'm going to subtract because that's what it tells me to do. 24 take away 2 is 22. And now I need to get the negative 4m alone. So I have to get rid of the 22. So the opposite would be subtracting 22 from both sides. So this is, again, watch all these signs that are happening. Left in front of the 4m is a negative. On the right side, the signs are the same, so I add, and the signs remain the same because I just get more negatives, and I get negative 28. Okay? And then I've got one more step, which is to divide by negative 4 on both sides. So when I'm going opposite sides, I have to do the same math on both sides, okay? So the negative 4's cancel, leaving me with m. Now over here, I have a new set of rules. If I multiply or divide and the signs are the same, I get a positive. If they're different, I get a negative. Here, they're the same, so I get a positive, and 28 divided by 4 is 7, okay? Now, let's see if we can squeeze one more in. I'm not going to do the check on this one. Let's squeeze one more in, because I think it's also very interesting to see. So let's see, that's number 5. We have 4 times the quantity 3x minus 2, that plus 12x equals 40. Okay? So, Jacob, focus. So what do we need to do first? Distribute, right? So I'm going to have 4 times 3x, which is going to give me what? 12 and the x. And then I'm going to multiply 4 times negative 2, which is going to give me what? Negative 8. And then I have plus 12x equals 40. All right. 3 terms means I have like terms. What are my like terms in this one? The x's, right? What's 12x plus 12x? 24x. So I have 24x minus 8 equals 40. What's my next step? Add 8 to both sides. And that gives me 24x equals 48. What's my next step? Okay. According to what Cameron said. Okay. And we get x equals 2. So, your homework tonight, the page 127, 128, 15 to 23 odd, 29 to 39 odd.